Good day, everybody. Sunday, the 25th of May, 2025. It's 10 minutes after 11. Oh no! Just so happens just when I turn this on, they have a helicopter going overhead. I thought the traffic was loud. Anyway, I've been here before. This, what you're looking at, this, I guess you call it a freeway. It's the ring road around Minsk, and on the other side is you're not on Minsk anymore. So maybe for those that come in, they see this over here. Looks like gears. I don't know, maybe it says something in here. Various things. One of them is the Autozavodskaya. I guess to let you know what Minsk is all about. A lot of mechanics, tractors, big trucks, more tractors. Well, of course they do electronic things and all that too. And they just had, as a matter of fact, some military show here, showing off a lot of new weapons. There's a lot of talk about new weapons lately. And let me get into that as well. Let me get my notes out. I want to get someplace where I don't have to shout so loud, where it's not so loud. Let me start off. I'll start off with saying Donald Trump. He does a lot of talk, as you guys know. Some of the talk he did lately, one of them was directed at Apple and some of these other firms. That he's again back on his tariffs. The huge tariffs on everybody unless they come and build in the United States. So I guess that's one way to do it. You threaten. Oh, it's too loud underneath here. Let me wait till I get to the other side over there. Underneath the bridge, as you see. Cars above, cars to the right. Nad i sprava. Okay. 50% tariffs. I mean, wow. I don't know what went wrong with his plan on China there, where he had these 155%, and then he changed those tariffs as well. I think there's a trail. Let me walk over here. I hope it's not full of mud, just to get a little bit further away from the road. Don't like to shout. I'll even shout. You know that I'm proud, but I can't get the words out. So here we go. 50%. People are always looking at me all the time. Oh, she turned her head at the right minute. Good. Okay. And Donald Trump was at West Point. I guess it was yesterday. You know, an interesting fact, the one who founded West Point is actually Belarusian, lived in Belarus, and I guess you can go visit his house, by the way. So that's just something to throw in there. But he was at West Point coming up with all kinds of things. He insists that the United States won World War II. And of course, I'm sure he insists that the United States won the First World War, which they even had less to do with than they did in the Second World War. But you know, we're indoctrinated very, very heavily in the United States to believe all kinds of poppycock. I'll tell you, the truth of the matter is, and I've said many times, as far as First World War is concerned, nobody defeated the Germans. Nobody defeated the German military. I don't know, I don't want to run over there from here. Too much traffic right around here. Chevy, come on, Mr. Chevy. I wonder if this is built in Minsk, these backhoes, these massive sized backhoes here. But anyway, I've said before, what defeated Germany was a revolution back home, and then they just shut it down because they were having too many problems. I don't know who was the chancellor, von Bülow at that time. I'm not too sure. A lot of turmoil in Germany, so that's what defeated Germany. And that's why they called it the stab in the back, because the military felt stabbed in the back when they were not even defeated, and Germany surrendered the war. So that's about World War I. World War II, Germany, and as a matter of fact, in World War I, the United States came in 3 years later. The war was already going for 3 years before the United States came in, and they didn't learn the tactics as the rest of the people did in Europe. Like I said, it was a big tactic at that time to, at the beginning of World War I, you attack the enemy at the strongest point. So the belief was that if you attack your enemy at the strongest point, you can defeat them there, you can defeat them anywhere. So towards the end, they started realizing, I think all parties concerned, I think maybe in the last year or so, that you don't do that. You try to find the weakest point and you attack the enemy at the weakest point. And the United States, and it was General Pershing, you know, they named the missile after him, he didn't learn that. He kept attacking at the strongest point, and the United States, they lost their ass, and they lost big time. So it wasn't the United States. They had nothing to do with winning World War I either. So just so you guys know that. Anyway, like I just said, I said who, you know, who that Germany was not defeated in World War I. So look that all up yourself, you know, but in the American history books or whatever. But as far as like World War II is concerned, the United States came in 3 years later on that too, and Russia was already, they had the Germans on the run. They were pushing them back further and further and further. They even have that in music and songs where they kept pushing. They pushed them out of Belarus and then pushed them out of, and then of course right after that, when they were on their way very close to Berlin, the United States came in. And then of course it was the Soviet army that conquered Germany, just like Winston Churchill admitted and President Roosevelt admitted. But no, Donald Trump, he was there and he saw it. So you know, anyway, it's just incredible. So he insists the United States won it. I don't know if he's just trying to give feel-good feelings to the people of the United States or whatever the deal is, but it just, in my opinion, it just shows the level of brainwashing. It's incredible. It's like I believed a lot of that stuff myself. I believe, yes, the United States, the industrial power of the United States producing weapons, and of course it did have a lot of power, but it was not necessarily what won the war, even though we're told that. We're told that. It was the Russian people. And they never gave up, and they kept fighting back and kept fighting. They never gave up and didn't want to be submitted to the Nazis. That's what won World War II. And in World War I, Russia withdrew because, like I said, it was Vladimir Lenin. They sent him over there from Zurich, Switzerland. The Germans did put him in that sealed train car. Everything was blacked out, and they sent him there. And the whole purpose was to destabilize Russia and get them out of the war. And it worked exactly that way. So that's what happened. So he was like a secret agent for Germany. Maybe he didn't even know that. I don't know. And some people are really pissed off. I saw some sort of things, even it was the past few days, that a lot of people are pretty pissed off because what happened is Khrushchev, he arranged to get rid of all recognition of Stalin, and they left everything up for Lenin. That's why there's a Lenin statue in every large town or city in Belarus, maybe Russia as well. They tore them all down. They turned everything down in Ukraine and all that. But there's nothing about Stalin, or maybe there might be very, very few. And of course, we're told in the United States that he was evil and he's killing millions of people. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but he did a lot of good things for the Soviet Union. But I don't want to get into that. Controversial, very controversial. Okay. Like I said, what I was getting at is the amount of brainwashing that we all go through. I was brainwashed to a large extent too. You know, and you're a soldier, you come over to Germany, and it's not that I did this, but a lot of Americans, they're swaggering around, you know, we are the guys, we are something special. And it's just like what Obama was saying, what does he say? The exceptional people, we're exceptional, and all of you guys are subhumans. Well, you're not subhumans, you're just a little bit less than Americans. The subhumans are the Russians and the ragheads and the gooks. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of Americans that have that opinion. So let's keep going here. Some more crazy stuff. They're looking for me. Okay. Look till this guy goes by. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Okay. Again, Trump with his more. You know, the major part about what my vlog is, and I think a lot of other people's vlogs are that are very similar to mine, is it's like we're truth activists, and we don't like this misinformation getting put out. And then you do a little bit of digging, and you look around, and you find out that we're all being lied to, and it's just continuous and continuous. And even, like I said, Donald Trump even puts out lots of lies. He's out to tell the truth about certain things, but the other things, he's not out to tell the truth. So he said, and I don't even know who started this. I don't know if it was Donald Trump, but maybe it was. Maybe he started out saying this originally. But he said that the Russians stole the technology. They stole the technology of the United States to make hypersonic missiles. And then it kind of really begs the question is, well, you know what? How come the United States doesn't have hypersonic missiles? Because the Russians stole the technology. So you only had one piece of technology, and what did they load up? I don't know how much research do you need to make such a hypersonic missile? So did it fill up? Maybe it's as small as filling up the back of a pickup truck. So the Russians, they drive a pickup truck to some secret place, with multiple identification checks to get in there. Or was it Jonathan Pollard? Did he get out of prison? The guy that was stealing, for over many, many years, stealing nuclear secrets for Israel. And of course, he's a big hero in Israel. But why is he in prison in the United States? Because we are subservient to Israel, and he's a big hero in Israel. So why is he in prison in the United States? I don't know. He may not be in prison in the United States. But anyway. So they stole it. He said that they stole it during Obama's time. But then I guess maybe the Chinese, I don't know when the Chinese had hypersonic missiles. They have hypersonic missiles. Apparently Iran has hypersonic missiles, and even apparently the Houthi have hypersonic missiles. So I guess Russia stole it and they gave it to all of these people. I'm guessing, I don't know. But they're not as fast, at least the Houthis are not as fast. I don't know. I think the Chinese is just as fast as the Russian, or maybe almost as fast. I really don't know. But the Chinese have some really devastating weapons as well. So does the United States. Maybe some of these are secret. I don't know. But Trump says we have weapons that you would never even imagine. I don't know. I can imagine nuclear bombs, and that sounds pretty bad to me. So, but it doesn't fit the smell test. Donald Trump saying that the Russians stole the technology, and America can't redo it. Like, did they steal the people that had the knowledge and the ability to do this as well? Did they steal all those people? Or did they do what Israel was doing and start assassinating the scientists? Yeah, and recently also, I think it was Iran, they put out, it wasn't Israel, it was Iran that they put out, that not even the nuclear scientists, that the Israelis have been assassinating other scientists as well, missile scientists in Iran. So they're really big on trying to keep other people strung down, the Israelis. I guess maybe it's for the United States as well, I don't know. Anyway, a lot of talk this past few days about weapons technology and all that. It's J.D. Vance said the United States has to really dummy up because they're way, way, way behind. And but wait a minute. Trump said that the United States had weapons that nobody can imagine. So I guess maybe nobody's imagining them. So that's why they don't have them. I don't know. Just guessing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm the here. Russia also has, it's also, they came out with this Orishnik, and that looks really devastating. Very, very fast. I don't know if I believe it's hypersonic as well. I don't know if the Russians are really going to build anything. They have shells, but I don't think they're going to be really building much of anything anymore unless it's hypersonic. I'm guessing, so. Iskander, but there's this Iskander M. And that is a real devastating weapon as well. This is not nuclear, but it's hypersonic. And if you get a very long flatbed truck, not a pickup truck, of course, but a longer flatbed truck, not even super long, but you can fit one of those missiles on the back of that truck. It's big, and it's not too big. I don't even know the range on those things. I assume that it's quite far, a couple thousand kilometers. I'm just guessing. It's low cost, very destructive, and it's pinpoint accurate. So, no air defense system on Earth can shoot those down because it's very unpredictable on its path that it takes. It zigzags and dipsy doodles and all that. Russia has even got missiles where they can stay flying for many hours at a time, many hours, and turn around and go around in a circle. Wow, some really incredible stuff. I don't know if the United States has anything like that at all. But maybe Russia stole that too. Jeez. Okay, what else? Pavel Durov, he came out again. You know, he was the one that put out that the chief of intelligence of France was asking him. I don't think they were ordering him. Maybe, you never know. But you know, he's kind of in the doghouse with France, and he's got French citizenship, so he's kind of complying with a lot of things. But he didn't want to comply with this, apparently, with this election. Maybe it's because it's really against the law, supposedly, in the European Union to meddle in elections and things. You know, but Russia's meddling in elections. Nobody has any proof of that anywhere, no evidence, but yet they're doing it. We know, trust us. But anyway, jeez. But it's about this meddling in the Romanian election, and this guy, let me see, somebody from the French government posted, well, first let me say, Nicolas Lerner, he's the head of the intelligence of France. He went to Rome 2 days before the election. Can you imagine that? It was just a coincidence. I mean to Romania. It was just a coincidence. I mean, doesn't everybody just go to Romania? I mean, isn't that the number? I mean, out of the thousands and thousands of cities in for countries, or well, not countries, but what is there? 50 countries and Romania. I mean, isn't that the key place that everyone wants to go to? So this guy went there. So that's what he did. 2 days before the election. And anyway, there was another person in his intelligence group. His name, I guess, Valéry Hayer. I guess it's a man. You never know with the French. I think that's a man, even though he's got a name Valerie. I don't know. You know, that's maybe why they got a lot of LGBT and stuff. But you know, then we'll get to Starmer and talk a little bit about him too. But anyway, so this guy, let's see, what did he say? He said, I guess, and he put it, I don't know if he put it in a tweet. I guess maybe that was Dural Pavrov. He was quoting what this person said. It might have been in a tweet, or he just might be quoting from a video, but it said, "We will do everything on the ground to ensure that the next Romanian president is pro-EU." So in other words, they admitted they're going to do everything. Isn't that called election meddling? What happens if Russia would have said something like that, which they never have, by the way? Wouldn't that be called election meddling? What evidence does the U.S. or anybody have about Russia being election meddling? Did you hear any quotes like that coming out of any officials in Russia? No? Well, you know, but we all saw the evidence that Russia is meddling in elections. We saw it, but we all forgot it. And I think the Russians are doing some kind of a trick with our minds and making us forget it. All this evidence about them meddling in elections. That's why nobody's ever seen it. Those evil Russians. See how evil they can be? Wow. Okay, what else here? People in Britain. This thing. There was a guy, and it's, I guess you got to be very careful in Great Britain on what you say and how you say it. And I don't even know if George Galloway, is he living in Britain? I don't think he is. I think he might be living in some other country, like I think he was in Iran. I don't know exactly, because he seems to be kind of going a little bit close, even though he's never really said anything that incriminating a lot of the time. But about, I don't know, maybe because he's a member of Parliament, I believe still, that he can get away with saying this, and he's gotten the mother of all talk shows. So, but anyway, this guy was talking a little bit about what George Galloway put out. It was just some blogger, I don't even know his name, but he was talking about, and he was very, very, very careful. He said that if he says anything, that they will arrest him, and that's what they're doing in Britain. Apparently, that was another statistic, is like every single day, at least 30 people in Great Britain are arrested for comments they made in writing or whatever, online, or what they said, maybe in a video. So they come in and arrest you. That's incredible. Absolutely. And you know, you saw that a year ago, they were doing that. But that's freedom of speech. That's democracy and freedom of speech, and that's what they stand for, isn't it? I mean, gosh, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So you criticize them. And I think it's the same thing in France, you know. I think you're in big trouble if you say, even if you say that was a napkin in front of Macron on those things. I guess they come after you in France. But these guys are for freedom of speech. I don't know about Germany. Can you get away with that stuff in Germany? Freedom of speech, democracy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, I'll tell you what, you can say a lot more stuff over here than you can over there in Europe now. That is really incredible. It's going to get worse over there. It's going to get worse. Okay. But they were wondering how one of these Ukrainian boys, he's 21 years old, he's got a limited ability of English. That's what this guy said, and this vlogger, and he said, well, we have to protect our leader because we all love him. We all love Starmer, and everybody knows that. So we have to be protective of him. And they're wondering how this 21-year-old boy, real pretty boy, he wanted to be the top model on earth or whatever, that how was he able to locate 3 of Keir Starmer's properties and be able to get close enough to attack them, you know, to firebomb them and to light them on fire? 21 years old, very little English. I would even ask, well, how did he get to Britain anyway? What was he doing in Britain? And how did this guy get past the securities like Keir Starmer? There's no security around any of his properties. That just kind of doesn't pass the smell test anyway. But 3 male models, and a lot of people are asking questions. And I guess Keir Starmer right now, he's got the lowest approval rating of any this is what I heard somewhere. He's got the lowest approval rating of any prime minister in the history of Great Britain. And a lot of people now, I guess, they're starting to think about taking old Boris Johnson, because he obviously wants to go back into some kind of politics, but they're thinking about taking him out, and they're talking about it and dusting him off and making him run again for the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Remember, he was partying and all the stuff he did. Boy, oh boy. I mean, it's like, can't they get anybody better in these countries? Look at all these jokers. You can literally go on the street, you can take 10 people and you'll find at least 3 of them are far, far better suited, maybe in so many ways, to be prime minister of these countries or presidents or chancellors than these people that they're putting up there. It's absolutely incredible, you know? And I don't even care if they're homosexual, because it seems to be like most of them are, but you know, maybe, I don't know, but they won't be snorting the funny powder and stuff like that necessarily. But let's see, what else do I have here? Not much of anything else. I was going to put some things out before. I was asking you guys, you know, because I could talk to this priest a little bit more, but there's also something else that was put out. I saw this, and it's a lot of persecution in Ukraine from Orthodox people, Orthodox Christians. And I guess, I'm just guessing that they associate that with being Russian. So, and there are killings. They are killing them, a lot of them, the authorities. And it was the largest religion in Ukraine before this. And there were millions, there were like nearly, I think I've read 2 million of them. And they're trying to get rid of the church, the Orthodox Church. And then so I guess maybe that's the reason why they created a fake church, you know, instead of being the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, now they have the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. So they played around with the words, but a lot of people, they didn't buy it. You know, they're not into that kind of crap. But like I said, they're persecuted. A lot of the priests are all in jail now. They're beaten up. A lot of them are beaten up. Some have been killed. And like I said, this one priest that I was going to interview, maybe since I'm not going to be interviewing him, I guess you guys weren't interested in that. I would need a translator anyway. But anyway, he said it was a one time, and he said he witnessed a lot of these things with his own eyes. He was in Kiev. He was at that big main monastery there. So, but anyway, at one time there was a bunch of people protesting, you know, them locking up the priests and shutting down the church and not letting them go inside or all that sort of a deal. So one time they took 5 of these people protesting, they pulled them apart from the other ones, and they shot and killed all 5 of them right in front of everybody. And, you know, of course, maybe that probably dispersed everybody, you know. There's something about, you know, watching other innocent people getting killed that can frighten you, you know. I don't know why that is, but I guess that is. You know, and it makes you realize how easy it is. People will just kill you for what you believe in, what you do for any reason whatsoever, and nothing will happen to them. I mean, there's a place called Israel that will tell you a lot about that. How many Israeli people that have shot and killed Palestinians have ever served 1 day in prison? 0. Anyway, that's mostly all I wanted to say. And there was some talk about, I guess what it was back, there was something called, I guess, the Brest Church Union of the year 1596. And that was when the Rus, and of course this had to do with Kiev. And of course that's the first place where people got the name Russians, were the people that lived in or from Kiev. So the Kiev people were the first ones to be called Russians. But wait a minute, the people in Kiev, the administration hates the Russians, but the first people to be called Russians were those people that were living in Kiev. So there's something messed up in that one there. I don't know. So anyway, it was kind of a strange thing, and I don't really even understand it, because it had some sort of a deal where there had sort of a unification between the Orthodox Church. Like I said, the year, you guys can look this up. I was going to look this up. I didn't get around to it. 1596, and it happened in Brest, Belarus. And it was like where they signed something, and I don't know which and who this was doing this, but to a certain level, the Orthodox Church fell under, the Orthodox Christian Church fell under the authority of the Pope. So, and at that time, I don't know, 1596, wasn't there a splitting in the church? Wasn't there a Pope in Istanbul and a Pope in Rome? Something you guys should look up, because they didn't specify in the little note that I read. It just said Pope. So, like I said, maybe I think the leader of the church, maybe it was at that time, and it wasn't Russian Orthodox Church, it was the Christian Orthodox Church, of course. And I believe the leader of the Christian Orthodox Church, who had his chair, no, he was out of Istanbul, like I said, and he was called the Patriarch. But anyway, it put it under the Pope. So maybe that's why they don't have a Patriarch. So it's all very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. And maybe later on it switched again. I have to look that up in history. So it's very interesting, because your faith, I guess, drives a lot of your behavior and has a lot to do with politics as well. So it's interesting. If any of you know that, you can write that in the comments. Hopefully I'll remember it and I'll read it. Maybe I'll even put it out if you have it. And I'm maybe sure it's not too long, but I'd like to hear it. Okay, well, that's about it for this video, and I hope it uploads fast enough. I didn't do one yesterday, so don't worry if you think you missed it. I maybe should be doing a little bit less videos. It takes a lot of time. Anyway, that's all for right now. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. So bye-bye.